So if we go back to this girl, happiest person on earth, without a doubt. But this picture is 10 minutes before my life completely changed. 10 minutes. So in that picture, I had no idea that my life would change. I was on my way to Denver, Colorado for the stock show. I was driving through Sinclair, Wyoming, when I looked down to check my map. When I had looked up, I'd faded over a lane and was heading towards one of those mile markers on the side of the road. I tried to correct my truck. I grabbed my wheel and I turned my wheel, thinking that it would fix the problem. All it did was send the tail end of my truck sliding. And in my head, I'm just thinking, please don't roll. I brought my wheel back slowly, thinking that if I could just get my truck going back straight, I would be okay. My truck started coming back, and just as I thought, thank you, I'm going to be all right, my rear tire caught the dirt on the side of the road. This pulled my truck completely sideways. I figured my life was over as my truck picked up off the ground as we were to start rolling. In that picture, I had taken my seatbelt off 10 minutes before. I wear my seatbelt all the time, but I had taken it off and was ejected through my window during this rolling. I left my truck going 70 miles an hour and hit that post. That post hit me, and I wrapped around it, broke it off, and carried it another 20 feet. When I landed in the snow, I looked around and realized I couldn't feel my legs. I knew I must have broken my back. I knew that my life was never going to be the same. Sitting there looking at my truck, I thought, I am so glad I'm not in that. I am blessed to be sitting in the snow right now. A little while later, the paramedics showed up and took me in the ambulance. Craziest thing ever was the night before, I was just talking to a friend about I'd never gotten IVs, never broken a bone, never had to spend time in the hospital, and look where I was heading now. When I got into Rawlins, where the paramedics dropped me off, that was when I first heard the news I was hoping no one would tell me. A doctor walked in, and I didn't know if he was talking to me, but I hear him talking about being paralyzed. And I'm laying on this table thinking, what? And I even asked him, I said, what are you talking about? I said, what are the chances of me feeling my legs or walking again? With a face that I will never forget, completely stone cold, he looked at me and he said, slim to none, but more to the none. Wow. I mean, I would have never imagined hearing that sort of words. Like, I would have never thought, why would that happen to me? Everything in my life was perfect. How could this happen? How could this change at the time when I thought I was on top of the world? But it did. So, after being life-flighted to Casper for my surgery, I went from this girl, perfect, right? Everything's good, no problems, to this girl. Completely different. I underwent 5 hours of surgery, which left me with a whole lot of hardware in my back. I had to get stitches and a scar that now is going to be with me forever, up my entire back. Certainly changed my outlook on life. the whole seatbelt thing. Me thinking I was blessed to not be in my truck. One of those paramedics that went back to my site later came and visited me in Casper. And he said, I hate to tell you this, but if you hadn't taken your seatbelt off, you'd have your legs. That was the first time I cried. I'd been fine for 2 days. I thought, guys, I'm okay, not a big deal. I mean, just a little bump in the road, right? No, that was the first time I cried. But I had the choice then. I had the choice whether I could give up on all my dreams I'd ever had, or I could keep going. I'll admit to you, this was an incredibly hard decision. I got transferred to Provo to do rehab, and when I got there, the nurses walk in and the therapists, and they sit around me and they say, okay, we're going to make some goals. And I'm thinking, why are you guys so cheesy? This is a crappy situation, but whatever. They said, so what are your goals? I said, okay, pretty simple. Walking, riding, rodeoing again. That's it. Nothing else. I don't really care what you guys have to say. Those are my goals. And they said, okay, guess that's what you want to say. I had to go through therapy. Figured out it wasn't going to work like that. It wasn't going to be an overnight process. I had to start making smaller goals. I had to start realizing that moving from my wheelchair to something else was something realistic. I had to learn how to do that. Being able to wheelie around, that's something you're required to do before you leave the hospital. My goals changed. I will tell you, I still have my big goals. They're still there. I still want to rodeo. I still want to be involved in all those things. I just realized it's going to take some more time. So I made a new goal in the hospital, just a simple one. I said I was president of the FFA. My convention, the biggest convention we have, was coming up 2 months after my rec in January. I had to prepare for it. There was still so much to do. With help of those officers that were with me in that picture and extra time in the hospital, I was able to make it there. We had to change some things, but I was able to make it there. And I was able to give my first speech I'd ever given from a wheelchair. I told you guys about winning that world title, thing I'd wished for my whole life, pretty much. That feeling was completely surpassed what I felt when I finished that speech on stage at state convention. It was incredible. Incredible because I knew that not only had I accomplished something for myself, but I was given the opportunity to change other people's lives as well. And that was a bigger deal to me. So since the time of doing this, I've been able to make the choice to go to school as well. In the hospital, they asked me if I was going to college, and I said, no, I'd taken the year off to serve as state president so I could travel around, and they said, well, take your time. It's okay if you don't want to go to school for a few years. You have up to 3 years to get everything back, so if you want to spend those 3 years just worrying about that and just put aside the rest of your life, you have that choice. And I said, well, to me, I can't be doing that. I'm the type of person that I have to always be doing something. So I chose to go to school. And since being at school, well, I was nervous to come because I thought, it's different. It's different going from, I don't know, just being a person walking to now I have to meet people like this and hope that they still like me and hope that they'll still be around me. But I've noticed coming to college that I have the best roommates that there is, like easily, hands down. And they've helped me with therapy, they've helped me with things, and they've helped me to be able to keep progressing. And I've been really lucky because of that.